studies, so I don't want to bore you. Ann Arbor, Michigan, a compound derived from broccoli could help prevent or treat breast cancer by targeting cancer stem cells. A small number of cells that fuel a tumor's growth, according to a new study from researchers at the University of Michigan Comprehensive Cancer Program. The study tested sulforaphane, a compound of broccoli and broccoli sprouts, in both mice and cell cultures, so that's human cultures. Researchers found sulforaphane targeted and killed the cancer stem cell and prevented new tumors from growing. Now, this is one of the top 10 research centers in the United States. Now, how come you don't know this? How come no doctor, I should say no, probably one or two doctors in America know this? How come when they say, by the way, how cancer grows are stem cells, so you know this. Cancer is literally a child molester. It will never be able to go out and convince a full-grown cell, come and become cancer. Full-grown cell is like an adult. As an adult, if I came to you and I was a bad guy in the car with candy and said, come on, little boy, get in the car, but you're an adult, what are you going to say to me? No way. But if you were a 12-year-old stem cell, a little girl or boy, you jump right in the car. And me, the cancer, would give you candy. So what we're saying is this study shows that broccoli sprouts stop the development of cancer. And by the way, all you probably need to do if you don't have cancer is take about 40 to 50 cents of broccoli sprouts a day. And you think it's worth doing that not to have cancer? And by the way, there's a lot of other good side effects. We're just talking about cancer in this segment. So sulforaphane has been studied previously for its effect on cancer. But this study shows that its benefits is inhibiting the breast cancer stem cell. This new insight suggests the potential of sulforaphane or broccoli extract to prevent or treat cancer by targeting the critical cancer stem cells. 50 cents versus $500,000. Which one do you want to take? So now we're at the University of California, Los Angeles, one of the top 5 research centers on the planet Earth. On the Earth. Here we go. Numerous important findings show that cancer cells can readily metabolize fructose to increase proliferation. So a lot of you are eating healthy diets. If you're eating fruit and you have cancer, you are inviting cancer to grow. Fruit is not part of a cancer patient's diet unless you want to continue to have cancer. Well, that's not what everyone else says. Well, we're the oldest organization, the most serious organization, and the most effective organization in history. You can go to people with theories, philosophy, or you can come to me. And it's up to you, whatever you decide to do. Yeah. But what we did is 40 years ago, we took fruit off the menu for people with cancer. Now, we did it because of instinct. Today, there's overwhelming science. So the most important human alive today on cancer wrote the most important book ever written on cancer, called Cancer as a Metabolic Disease. He's one of us, by the way, Thomas Seyfried. Thomas, actually, his family is from Dublin, originally. Thomas was at Yale. Thomas is now at Boston College. He's hated. He's hated by his colleagues in the profession because he came out of the closet and said, cancer is not a genetic disease. And he wrote the definitive book in the entire history of science showing it's not a genetic disease, it's a lifestyle disease. You create cancer. And isn't that a refreshing thing? Because if you can create it, you can also what? If it's genetic, it's hopeless. You might as well just go to bed and roll over and die. Because you don't really change gene disease. If you have Down syndrome, I've never seen a Down syndrome person reverse that, have you? That's a genetic disease. The cancer is certainly not a genetic disease, or not one of the tens of thousands of people I've seen reverse cancer could have done it, because it's genetic. Now, what we do know is this has major significance for cancer patients given dietary fructose consumption, which indicates that efforts to reduce refined fructose intake or inhibit fructose will disrupt cancer growth. So what we're saying here is that fruit sugar actually feeds cancer, and let me preface Dr. Seinfeld, more than any other sugar. All sugars feed cancer. The worst sugar is fruit sugar. Why? because it's the only sugar in the human body that metabolizes like fat. All sugars make us fat. If you look around this room and see chubby people, as I used to be, it's because we eat a lot of sugar. Or a lot of spuds that break into sugar, a lot of pasta that break into sugar, a lot of bread that break into sugar. So it's either you're a blatant sugar addict, which I was a blatant and a closet mixed together. So I would hide and eat a loaf of bread, but I'd also eat right at the table sugar. The only sugar that metabolizes like fat is fruit sugar. Okay, now, why is that a problem? Because in 1924, how many of you were born here in 1924? 1924, over in Germany, after a 4-year study, a guy comes out and gets a Nobel Prize in 1931, Otto Warburg, when he said, all you have to do is reduce the oxygen in the human's body by 1/3, and even a healthy person will start to create cancer. If fruit sugar metabolizes like fat, and fat gets into the bloodstream, what does it reduce? Oxygen. Bingo. And they try to discredit what he said, but now legitimate mainstream researchers all say Warburg was right 90 years ago. Isn't that amazing? So sometimes we take these big voyages around, the ego voyages I call them, we come back to common sense occasionally. And people die in that process. Fruit, its juices, and all other forms of sugar cause inflammation through the body, leading to the development and metastasis of every form of cancer. These findings were published in October 2011 Journal of Nutrition and Metabolism. Interesting, isn't it? How come when you go to the doctor, if they're holistic doctors, the holistic doctor says eat fruit and vegetables? They seemingly don't read research. I never stopped reading research. I never stopped testing what I believe is right. I never stopped looking with highly sophisticated testing on what works and what doesn't work. And if you're not doing that, please move over because you're going to be dangerous. You're going to be dangerous telling old information to people. I was over speaking at the German Cancer Institute. They gave me a standing ovation when I talked about fruit sugar and cancer. They said, how did you learn that? I said, dumb luck. Luck of the Irish. It was really dumb luck. Here a guy has a name like me with a K in front of him. Maybe he's really Irish. And Kavanaugh further stated, cancers are so sensitive to sugar supply that cutting the supply will suppress the disease. So why do most people die of cancer? They're eating sugar. That's what this whole segment was for the last 10 minutes. Now getting cancer is a whole other thing. What did I just say 1.5 minutes ago? How do you get cancer quickest? Reduce what? By how much? 1/3. All I have to do is grab your neck and hold it for 5 minutes, and you're down 1/3. 1/3. You're already getting cancer at that point. And every day, what percentage of our cells can potentially become cancer? All of us. 1%. Listen close. I'm telling you the facts here. These are the facts. Swedish renowned Carl Niska, Stockholm, discovered and published the initial findings on how cooking morphs the chemistry of plants, making cancer-causing compounds called acrylamides. Remember about 40 years ago this came out and everyone said, oh, those Swedes, they're just silly. No, they weren't so silly. Now there's overwhelming international evidence that when you take an organic, plant-based food and you cook it at a high temperature, it causes cancer. So why are we telling you, by the way, to eat raw food? Because it's stylish, it's in fashion, because that's what I believe in, because it's my dogma. I only believe in what works and what's proven by science. I will never utter a word that I haven't seen work. I don't believe 100%, and it's also supported by science. So we also know now, if you cook a food, you're going to have a new disease, cancer-causing element called an acrylamide. You may want to look it up. Matter of fact, the first book you saw is a series of academic books I write for the scientific community. So I got really tired when I travel the globe and I talk to these eggheads. Again, the most closed-minded people I know I've ever spoken to are academics, intellectuals, and by the way, PhDs and graduate degree people. I go into a group of blue-collar workers, they get this stuff like this. I go into the eggheads, they're all questioning it. Well, what universities are this? What it is? What are they? Do they have any idea? They have no idea. They don't care. All they're there is to prevent truth from coming out. Because remember, you threaten people's lives when you tell them they're wrong. Oh, excuse me, not lives, livelihoods. That's the difference. It's a livelihood thing. Researchers at Harvard School of Public Health have found an increased risk of ovarian and endometrial cancer among non-smoking postmenopausal women who consume food and beverages containing high levels of acrylamides. Interesting stuff, isn't it? Oh, how many of you have ever heard of an acrylamide till I just said this to you? So now you have one person in the entire room. That's pretty damn sad. I would imagine you're much above the average Irish in being health seekers. Wouldn't you think so? And only one person in this room have heard of this? This is how hidden truth is. This should also be on the next 5-minute segment on the news. After we say, by the way, broccoli sprouts prevent and reverse disease. Then they should say, also, by the way, cooked food gives you cancer, and here's how it gives you cancer. And if you want to read my academic books, I can tell you exactly what research was done, what universities, and what the results were. So here we go. A natural occurring chemical found in grains, potato chips, pretzels, and other common baked and snack foods. Acrylamides are produced during the heating of these foods. A Dutch study, this is an overwhelming study. When you look at this, they looked at 120,000 people, half women, so 50-50, found that women who absorbed more acrylamides were twice as likely to develop ovarian and womb cancer as those who ingested a small amount. So the more spuds you have. Any of you people here in Ireland eat spuds? We're talking about spuds, people. We used to think it was a charcoal burnt steak. Shit, it's even the spuds. Bad stuff. And every time I had a spud in my house, we used to take that big lump of white, fluffy spud, make a center in it, and take 1/4 pound of butter. This is not a joke. Every damn meal, I ate 1/4 pound of butter. And it would melt down there, and you'd take your white bread, potato bread, of course, and be lipping that up over there like that. Oh, that was just delicious, I thought. Shit, if I knew it was all cancer-causing, I'm not sure I'd do it in that. Think of this stuff. The crust on bread, cancer-causing. The higher amount eaten by women involved was the equivalent to a single pack of crisps, half a pack of biscuits, or a portion of chips a day. We're not talking about, I used to buy those family size of chips and eat the entire thing myself. I was so excited when they started to make family size something, I didn't have to go back and buy 5 and 6 little bags of those things. This is what they're eating, half a package. Oh, let's see. This is highly sensitive stuff. Right? This is the Irish technology. So here's something I presented to a group of alternative doctors. I went out to San Diego. These are the vegan doctors, the ones who are really supposed to know. Closed-minded. They think they know. So there were 450 vegan doctors in the room, and I presented to them what I am you. And let's see if you got it better than they did. When a seed is planted, it grows into a viable living food. Anyone not understand that? Raise your hand. You don't understand that when you take a seed and you put water in and give oxygen to it, this is what happens? And it's a miracle when you think about it. I mean, that seed would hang out for 2,000 years if it were in a preserved area. Just sitting there saying, I'm waiting, I'll become life. Isn't that a miracle? It's a miracle. And you take it for granted. Oh, what's so interesting about that? And in just 6-7 days, that's what it looks like. Now, if I expose it to cooking, cooking destroys the potential for growth in life. Anyone disagree with that? Okay, nobody raised their hand. So you all understand that a seed, when you give it oxygen and water, becomes alive and grows. You also understand if I cook it, it doesn't grow. Now, how many of you would take a seed, April's about ready to come here, and go out in your garden that was cooked and planted, expecting a garden to come? Raise your hand. So none of you, I thought the Irish were smarter than that. You thought that cooked seeds grow. Well, of course you'd never plant a cooked seed in your garden, because you'd be a stupid. It would never grow anything. But what the hell have you been eating? You've been putting cooked, dead, processed, cancer-causing, disease, elevating foods in your body, even if they're organic, even if they're plant-based, and you're surprised when you get sick. You would think that vegans had 1,000,000% less cancers. They don't, because they're eating lots of what? It's only 25%, 30% difference. So this is where the living food comes in, people. Nutrient destruction effect. Cooking dramatically alters and abolishes nutrients effect. One does not have to be a scientist to know that planting a cooked seed will not reap a plant. Nutrition's missing link is a gaping absence of life force necessary to spark and maintain all life, including ours. So everyone talks about proteins, vitamins, minerals, trace minerals, essential fatty acids, sugars. Big deal. If you cook them, kaput. They're all gone. They don't work. How many of you know that? So people are saying, I'm eating a nutritious diet. I'm eating a cooked vegan diet. You're not eating a nutritious diet. The good news about a cooked vegan diet is that you're not eating meat, eggs, dairy food. That's the good thing. So you're not giving yourself the usual suspects of disease and premature aging. You're just slowing that process down. You're just giving yourself death, dying, and disease, not accelerating it at a very high rate. So here's just a handful. Well, I read about 8,282 studies when I was writing this series of books for the docs. And this is just a small little bit. Microwave. I'm sure every one of you here have a microwave in your house. You're just too damn busy, most of you. Just want to pop it in there. Then you go to the health store and buy microwave-ready health food. That's like an oxymoron. What's microwave-ready health food? You pop it in the microwave, and you're out the door you go, and you're just happy as can be. Now, what do you think you're doing with that? Well, look at this one. Basically talks about what happens when you microwave the vitamin C, completely gone. Washington State University, vitamin C in green peas. River State University, ascorbic acid. Vitamin C is completely wiped out when they looked at it. National Agriculture, all proteins completely destroyed. Then we have cooking temperatures with quality of beans. And again, they see little to no nutrition in this one. Over in China, and on and on and on we go. And you can just see one study after another study basically says, you're killing everything in the food. So here's a guy that came to us. He was a hard case because he was an engineer. How many of you here are engineers, bankers, architects, or mathematicians? Most closed-minded people I know. They're like this. If you put them on a path, they're like this. You say, go like this, they freak out. Ah, they fall. And he was one of those. And he went in and he was dying of advanced stage 4 melanoma. How many of you know how bad that disease is? I've seen people get better, but it's not an easy one to get better from, I'll tell you. Melanoma is not at the top of the hit list, I'll tell you on recovery. And he had that. So he was very, very bright, very well successful. So he was a Canadian and Irish guy. And so he went up and he went to the top doctors in Canada, the top doctors in America, and all the top doctors said, it's hopeless, you're going to die. And his girlfriend, a pharmacist, her mother came to us and reversed cancer. So said, well, you're going to die anyway, and you think you're going to die, and now you actually have authenticated you're going to die in writing from several doctors. Why don't you go and try that? Because I don't want you to die. And he reluctantly came to us. Came with a stick in his butt. He walked in like this. What can you do to help me? I said, absolutely nothing if you don't want to be helped. He said, well, I'm paying money. I'm going to come here for 3 weeks. Now you're saying you can't help? I didn't say that. I said, I can't help you unless you're ready to be helped. You don't appear to me to be ready to be helped. So you have to loosen up a little bit. By the second week, he loosened up a little bit, not a lot. Now he was like an average closed-minded person, not an above closed-minded person. And I want to show you what he did. So here he is. He's a youngster. He comes to us. He's dying. They gave him 2 weeks to live when he came to us. You know what he asked me? This is funny. Gave him 2 weeks to live. The program was 3 weeks. He asked me if I die, do I get my money back? I said, it's not a joke. I said, I'll throw it right in the goddamn coffin for you. This is Benjamin after taking back his life and utilizing the tools of enrichment that are plentiful when adopting the program. So here's what was dying. Here he is a number of years later. And look at the difference there. And what we're doing is a form of chromium photography that looks at the life force, the electromagnetic energy field. It's not aura photography. This is much more advanced than that. Here's just a handful of people. I mean, the good news for me when I travel the globe, I meet people in all the audiences, as we did yesterday, who healed some disease 20, 30, 40 years ago. Some of them did it before I joined the team of Hippocrates. Remember Sarah Young, one of the touching people that came to us with advanced pancreatic cancer.